look cute? Are you gonna do me dirty in this video?
I think you look adorable.
Wow, this looks like an enormous, like this is like...
Cheers. So, I guess we can just like talk about the definition of what ecosexual is, and then let's give background. So this is Lily, my roommate, so that's why we're not socially distancing, we're quarantined together.
Yes.
We're self-isolating, not like full quarantine. But we were abroad in Australia together. You might have seen her on my Australia highlight reel, linked here.
Yes.
And we took this amazing class with like the best professor I think either of us have ever had, Laura. And it was what, eco-critical literature? Literature in the environment?
Yeah.
Literature in the environment, but we talked about a bunch of like eco-critical lenses to think about the environment and like ways to think about the environment. Just new ways of thinking around the environment for like more like stewardship and activism, I guess. Yeah. So, and one of those ways was ecosexuality. So, the general premise here, I guess we should start with defining some terms and the general premise. So the general premise...
I would love that for us.
Right? I was looking at my like final essay and I was like, let me define some terms. The general premise is the idea that like, instead of the rhetoric of taking Earth as mother, we're using the rhetoric of taking Earth as lover. So instead of the Earth is there to protect me and to take care of me, it's we're there to take care of each other. And it's like a loving mutual relationship rather than like, I don't know, a patriarchal one where it's like, it's your duty to take care of me, like how we often put on mothers.
It's much more symbiotic. It's like a relationship of mutual care, for sure. That's the idea. But part of it is also, of the ecosexual movement, is also
erotic.
Kind of literal. Like, literally, the Earth is sexy is kind of the idea.
Yeah. Which, I mean, like, sex sells.
It
so
does.
I feel like it's a good, tactic.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the documentary.
Yeah, Goodbye Goalie Mountain. I'm gonna link it below. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It might be other places too. So good. Like, I can't even, you describe it. I feel like you're
it feels like a parody, but it's not a parody. It's so real. It's hilarious. It's moving.
Yeah.
Really sells ecosexuality. Really sells, like, it's about like mountaintop removal in West Virginia.
Yeah.
But also ecosexuality, and it really, I didn't know anything about mountaintop removal before it, and now I'm
it's
like
educational, but also like really like kitschy and queer.
Very queer.
I don't really know like what else you would want. I think to like define the definition of ecosexuality, which is that like mutual caring, that mutual love, we have to define love. So let's start there.
Okay.
Just the small questions.
What is love?
I think in the terms that we're using it, it's, I guess you already said it pretty much, like symbiotic. Like,
yeah. It's more than just romantic, but also more than just platonic. It's sort of all encompassing, like care and passion. Yeah. But then pleasure comes into it too.
And then pleasure, I feel like, is where we can transition to erotic. Let me grab my notes. So, here, let's see. This is how Audre Lorde, in her, I think it's her essay, The Uses of the Erotic, it's in the book Sister Outsider. I'll also link a PDF to it down below. But the way that she describes the erotic is a resource within each of us that lies in a deeply female and spiritual plane, firmly rooted in the power of our unexpressed and unrecognized feelings. In order to perpetuate itself, every oppression must corrupt or distort these various sources of power within culture of the oppressed that can provide energy for change. So I think what she's really saying is like, we have this inherent power and this inherent knowing within each of us, and like we can see that in how we know what feels good. We know what we enjoy. We know our like sexual pleasures, and that's suppressed and distorted because it's such like a powerful thing that goes so far beyond like sex.
Yeah. She talks really specifically about like pleasure being used as a tool of oppression when it's when people are miseducated on it, and not just like sexual pleasure, but just the way that our society teaches all people, but like especially women, to understand their own pleasure and their own joy and what's accepted and what like limits of that are accepted. Is she uses it as like defining for like our experience. It's really interesting.
And so Lord really like advocates for an understanding of the erotic and as a connectedness to the self and inner joy, not just a sexual sense. One of the functions of erotic connection is the open and fearless underlining for capacity for joy. And it's this internal sense of satisfaction to which, once we have experienced it, we know we can aspire, which I think is like really I don't know, that's the sentence that I feel like is really like encompassing and really illustrative of this essay. I'll just read it again. Is the internal sense of satisfaction to which, once we have experienced it, we know we can aspire. 54. And I think that, I mean, this can like spread through so many things. It's really relevant for ecosexual, but like reminds me of like an Angela Davis quote that like art's important because it reminds us we can aspire to something that's never been created before. So like the idea that we already have something inside of us that can tell us what is good and like what feels good and what we need, and to connect to that feeling in our like activism and in our work, I guess, in our organizing, I guess I should say, is like really important. Yeah. So I guess that's where like erotic and pleasure come in.
Yeah. And then ecosexuality just really dives into...
Really dives into the idea of that. Like one of the things that they say is like, you like feeling pleasure, like, or we all are a little bit ecosexual, and I'm sure there's people in this video now that are like, are we though?
It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell.
It definitely is a hard sell, but if you think about it, like,
full disclaimer, like we definitely came out of our class more passionate about this than the rest of the class. By
like
far,
our friend Juliana, who was in this class with us, she was like, that was so weird. And we're like, no, it's brilliant.
It's mind blowing.
Yeah, the idea is like, okay, like just taking it pleasure, pure the sense of pleasure. It's like when you lay in the sun and you feel the hot sun on your skin, doesn't that make you happy? Doesn't that bring you some sense of pleasure? Like, yeah, right? So then move that on to, isn't that a little erotic?
Like, a little sexy? Okay. Well, I also feel like the metaphor of Earth as lover ends up being really, like, useful when we think about the generational sort of, like, aspect of talking about climate change and our relationship to the Earth, because with the sort of more accepted or like really popular view of Earth as like a Mother Earth, and with also like often really useful conversation around climate change with like what are we leaving to our kids and like what have we done in the past, like the taking the Earth as lover makes it a little more dire for now, because if we're understanding our relationship as one of mutual care, like we're not putting off for the future taking care of the Earth, like we're doing it now. Things have to act now, and like there's not space for any type of like harm.
No, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense, I feel like. And it's also overwhelming. Like, people get, like, oh, all this damage has already been done. Oh, or like, oh, how do we undo this damage enough for, like, our kids and our kids' kids? It's like, how do we make the best possible situation and care for and the best... If you really are thinking about it like a relationship, like, I need to start finishing thoughtful thoughts. But if you really start thinking about it as a relationship, it's like, everyone comes to a relationship with some sort of baggage. You don't think about, in the relationship, how do I fix that or get rid of that? You think about, like, how can I feed this person in the best way in this moment for them, you know, and then how can we grow together?
Yeah.
And I think that, and relationships always fail if you get too caught up in the future instead of the present.
Yes.
Which I think all of that is like really valuable for environmentalism. Obviously we have to have a mindset of the future, but like, yeah, how do we do what's best for it in this moment?
Yeah. I also feel like shifting the conversation to like pleasure.
Makes it sexy.
Makes it sexy.
Well, where I would go with that is environmentalism can get very heavy and like very defeatist and just like depressing and overwhelming and like anxiety bound. And yeah, I think changing the conversation to pleasure does make it a little bit more fun and makes it a little more like, my investment in it isn't just because I want the earth to be there for me. My investment in it is because I want the earth, I want what's best for the earth.
Yeah, I want to be there for the earth.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not, and that also can change the way we think about our environmentalism too, because if people are like, I want to do these things in order for the earth to be there for me, then the things that they're willing to do will only go so far out of their comfort, you know? Like they're only going to, like they're not willing to sacrifice as much as if at the end of the day what they're sacrificing is for their comfort later.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. But you could sacrifice a lot more when you're thinking about this is literally the only thing that's the best for my lover, my partner.
Yeah. I think it's really empowering too. Like it gives people a type of power in a different way that's a little less harmful, because I do think like the Audre Lorde piece, like in Sister Outsider, it's like looking at giving yourself power through trusting your own intuition and like getting in touch with your own pleasure. And if you're starting a movement there with getting in touch with your own like pleasure, I feel like it sets up the rest of your mindset for success.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And it makes it so much more accessible. Like I think so much of like environmentalism is so like data driven and science driven, where like yeah, it creates the accessibility of it just being like, this is actually already within you. And like the scientists and outside research is important, but like when it comes down to you and your practices, like you have the knowledge you need.
And talk about connection to place, like that's so relatable. That's not like anyone on earth probably has some place that they feel like an intense connection to, and that like I just think it speaks to everyone to like look at it like that. Yeah, absolutely. Ooh, something that we could talk about is like, okay, what things in nature, this is more fun, what things in nature do you find erotic? Talk dirty to me. A little swim in the ocean or in a lake. I'm not picky.
Yeah, true. Like when like the wave slaps your ass.
Yeah, obviously.
Daddy Poseidon.
I love
swimming.
Yeah, swimming. Pleasurable. Amazing. Love that.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Maybe like, I don't know, like frolicking.
I understand.
You know? Like in a field, not in a field, not in a field. Okay, like being barefoot, like rubbing your toes in the
like
the
a little
dirt.
foot fetishy. Okay, I got it.
Okay, into
okay, take it.
I'm rubbing. I don't know, like I guess you have so many nerves in your feet, and then just like something about like curving your foot to like the right like curve of like a rock or something, like walking on like little rocks in like the water. I've literally ever like any person I talk to after this seeing this video is gonna be like, never mind, she's weird.
You could cut it.
No, I'm not cutting it.
It's
growing your own food and eating it.
Oh, that's great. That's
like
amazing.
like growing a tomato and eating it, like that's sexy.
Yeah. A little sauteed tomato pasta.
Oh my god.
A little fresh tomato.
Literally
with
just
a little
taking
fresh
it out
basil.
of like the garden and cutting it in half. Oh my god.
Amazing. The smell before you even cut it in half. When it's like really ripe and you know.
Amazing.
Amazing. Chef's kiss.
Amazing.
Frogs. What do you mean by that?
You see like when they like jump around, they little ribbit. It's like erotic.
Nice.
It's just like pleasurable.
Well, none of it's that I mean, it's pleasurable.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like frolicking can be pretty erotic. like tree hugging. Like literally hugging a tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Sunbathing.
Sunbathing. Sunbathing is the top one. Moonbathing, star watching, stargazing.
That is lovely.
Stargazing. Everyone relates to that. That's like a romantic thing.
Everyone loves stargazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess what we're saying is stop saying Mother Earth, start saying Lover Earth, stop thinking about what the Earth gives you and start thinking about what you give it.
Yep.
And I think that's like a really useful mindset to carry into anything that you do. Like, stop just thinking about what something can give you and start thinking about what you can give to it, rather, whether it's like a person, a practice, I don't know, like what you're eating even. Like, something that I was thinking about when I did my yoga teacher training was like, I just learned about this stuff and I was like, okay, I know what yoga gives me, but like, what can I give back to yoga? You know, like where can I put my energy to feed the things that feed me? And that's like a great thing to think about in life in general.
Yeah. A good mindset generally.
Yeah.
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 So, cheers to sex selves and to Laura and Beth and Annie.
Okay, comment down below things in nature that you find sexy. And like, subscribe.
Like, subscribe, comment.
Hit the notification bell. Like, really, please like this video because I would love to go viral. And I feel like this is good content.
I would love to go viral. I crave the fame.
I really would. And I feel like this is quality content and we're really putting ourselves out there.
This is an NYU education you're receiving.
Yeah, truly.
Kind of. For free.